Yo, happy November, Adam. Happy November, Chris. Did either of you guys go out and celebrate the Halloween festivities last night?
No, this is the first time my kid hasn't gone out. He's 17 years old. Finally, no Halloween, man. So basically, my kid's an adult now. So this is a changing of the tides for me. Like even his friend, they live in a really nice area, like gated community, which has like awesome trick or treating. And the kid was in the car and I was like, "Oh, and you gonna come tonight?" No one was like, "No, I'm out." So it's changing times in the McBride household.
That absolutely. What's good, Chris?
Yeah, I would have gone out and hucked eggs and stuff. Eggs and TP would have been on the menu for me at 17.
Yo, I'm gonna blame it on the Tuesday, but like the first year that I didn't go out, didn't dress up, didn't really do anything. So feeling energized. We have a huge show. Fake rares, fake Pepes. Seems pretty spooky. Let's get it.
Spooky season. What's good, Scrilla, man? It's been a few weeks. How you been?
Yo, what up? I sat outside and got bit by mosquitoes, and 5 groups of kids came up to my door. I was very disappointed because I had my wife went and got $100 worth of fucking candy. Now I'm sitting here with all this candy at the house, getting a stomach ache, and I'm like, please get this shit out of here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a different style Halloween, man. I was talking to my neighbor. I just moved not too long ago, and it's like, what the fuck's up with this? And they were like, man, yeah, it's kind of died down. And we live in a cul-de-sac on a dark street, I guess. Like the kids go to the other side of the neighborhood and they don't want to come to spooky side of Skrilla's town. So yeah, Halloween's different now, man. I think Carson was saying yesterday, or somebody was in our group chat, it's like an adult holiday now. It's not as much for kids. It's fucking weird. Yeah. I would have been like Adam. I would have been TPing and fucking
shit up, dude.
trying not to get my bag snatched by the bigger kids and shit.
Exactly, dude.
All the kids are afraid to be mischievous with all the Ring doorbells out there now.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that's a good
That I
point.
know is for sure. Like I was up at visiting my brother maybe 2 years ago, and all our kids went out, and the boys were all doing like ding dong ditch and stuff, and we got a call from from one of like, you know, they're doing ding dong ditches at like people we know's houses, and we get the call like, hey, tell your kids to stop it.
How funny. Carsonated, dude, it's been a long time. I'm the creator, one of the creators of fake memes. That was funny. That's why I wanted to bring everyone back together and also just talk about Pepe's, man. How was your Halloween?
Hey, thanks for asking. Yeah, it's been a minute. Halloween was even more of a ghost town out here than Scrilla experienced. I've lived in the same place for 3 years and I haven't had one trick or treater yet. But but that's what happens when you live in a fake place.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's died down. Out here in Vegas, it's all about partying now. It's not about going out and trick-or-treating, but having a good time. We had a pretty big week in terms of Pepe sales. We had Lord Keck Pepe sold for 6 ETH. That was the highest fake rare sale to this day. Feels good, man, at 5 ETH. Package claim 1.9 ETH. UFO Pepe 1 ETH. Phoenix Pepe 1 ETH. Pepe Reaper 1 ETH. And Relax Pepe 0.99 ETH. A very nice mix when it comes to fake rares and rare Pepes. I believe fake rares is currently in the top 100 right now, 24 hours. So the first time that fake rares has made it to the top 100. Interest is definitely picking up, especially with rare Pepes as well. It's exciting to kind of follow and watch. I even go through the collection pretty often and still find new cards. It's crazy even 2 years later how many that there are, and I still come across these new ones. It's absolutely insane.
I love the of course Elon's video with Joe Rogan yesterday was going around, right? And it was brings this question back, you know, about on chain, what's on chain? And then I see, you know, I don't know, Theo, who's the best, is like, oh, isn't this just about the token? Isn't the token art? And it gets into this question. We just recycle this same question again and again, and it was really fun to kind of play around with it again yesterday with Elon bringing it back up to top of mind again. And you realize just like how young this entire space is, that we just have so many people to educate. Like literally everybody on earth needs to know about this stuff, and we're just baby steps right now.
Yeah, I've been doing this like since the rare Pepes, and I'm split. Like it's a really hard topic to like wrap your head around. I think it is still so new. Like you need pointers, especially for larger art pieces. You have to worry about pricing if you do put something on chain and like what that means. You know, Joe will argue, you know, why don't you just store the image on your computer?
Right. Yeah.
Art Gnome will say, you know, use my storage database. Ordinals lovers and stamps lovers will be like, well, put it on an immutable blockchain. ETH people will be like, well, you know, you can pay all this money and store it like Josie did with her collection. Some other people have done. It gets really, you can't do it with everything, obviously. And like me, I some of my bigger pieces are like audio animation, kind of like short story like pieces. You know, they might run up to like a 250 megs if I compress it. It might be a gigabyte or two before I even compress it. Like, I don't think it's feasible to do that. So it's like there's like this whole like thing you have to wrap around your head about what digital art and how you own it is. And I don't think the market's still going to kind of determine it all. I think rare Pepes in particular and Spells of Genesis, they certainly get a pass in a lot of this stuff. Like, I know that I've brought up to the rare Pepe community, like, should we inscribe all these and and point it back? And it's like, well, rare Pepes, like I'll speak on rare Pepes particularly, like, you know, they started so much of like what we now know as like what we're doing. And I feel like there's almost like a pass in a lot of ways. It's like, this is the capabilities we have. Now, do we take this is the capability abilities we had at the time, and we did everything that you could do at the time. And now it's like, do we go back and repoint these things? Does that like mess up the provenance? Because then it's like, okay, now the updated description is going to say like, in 2023 this happened, in 2024 this happened, and this is what you're seeing. But what happened to the thing in 2016, which was the original thing? And it's something that I'm not sure. Like, I know with like DJ Pepe, for instance, I inscribed it and I made a sub asset and I pointed it using inscribe.art to everything. So it's like, all right, the original DJ Pepe is still the DJ Pepe, and like that, the Red Pepe collection, because you also don't want to break up the Red Pepe collection, have some point to stamps, at some point to ordinals, at some point to ETH, and it has to be like a cohesive thing. So like everybody has to be in agreement on it. So I made a sub asset and I pointed to it like, all right, you can go back to the sub asset at least and see like this is kind of like the updated part. I don't know if that's the right thing either, but I don't know. It's a fucking good question. I think we're going to spend a lot of time over the next many years kind of debating it.
It's a very, very, very good question. I think what you've done with a sub asset that links it to the actual asset, it's kind of like what a parent-child relationship is with ordinals, but you're kind of front running that narrative. Adam, what's your take on it as maybe a provenance purist maximalist?
Sure. I'm 100% with Scrilla, where it's just everything pre 2020 gets a pass. Whatever you were doing, whatever you were trying to do, automatically gets a pass. It just becomes part of blockchain history. Even today, even today, we are playing around with something. We all have this kind of vision of what blockchain tech is going to mean for the world in the future, but none of us really know. And we're all just kind of playing around, doing the best we can with current technology. Is it great to have on chain? Yeah, of course. But, infinite number of things should not be on chain. As Scrilla just said, if I have a gigabyte movie, should that be stored on chain? No. Right. And so there are all these different things, man. And we're just at the baby steps kind of figuring this stuff out. And the reality is there is no right answer. It's working through it and creating interesting stories. And I think doing interesting things like Skrill is trying to do with sub assets and stuff like that, things that add to narratives and create more interesting touch points and stuff. Artists playing around with that stuff is always a good idea.
I've actually put out a call too to the XCP community a little bit. Is like, it would be dope to have a wallet where the issuance update, you can kind of go through the story of the piece, like because you can do things like you can lock it and make it so you can never update it again. Just burn the owner asset in XCP, and you will not be able to update the description anymore. But most people don't do that. Like 99.9999% people don't do that because part of the like you said, like part of these NFTs and part of art in particular and period is always the story. So I think it would be dope to have an XCP wallet where you could actually follow the story of the updated asset. As technology improves, there might be different ways to compress files and stuff like that. And maybe there is going to, like we've seen with ordinals and stuff and stamps and e-scriptions to a degree, like there is ways to do certain things that we're not capable of, that we don't know about in the future. So it would be kind of cool to have like a wallet where you can go, okay, this is the first instance, this is the second instance, and you have all the instances you can actually view, because you can view it on X chain, but then you got to click around and go, and then you got to like decode, like it's not perfect in any sense in terms of like a consumption aspect. But I think that would be a pretty dope thing. And from what I hear, it is possible to do. Relatively easy. It would just take a little bit of manpower to put it together. But I think that would be dope. Even like from me as a producer, making a beat, like I would love to make a story NFT beat. Like basically like the first instance is the drums, and then when so many get collected, I'll add the sample, and then when so many get collected, I'll add the bass. And you can kind of like watch like the building of this like NFT, of this beat kind of over time. Like, bottom line is, though, I'm rambling, but the story is what the art is. I mean, art is a story. Like the Mona Lisa is not going to be the Mona Lisa if it didn't get stolen, disappear, and have like a worldwide hunt for 2 years. Like it's all about the story and art.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So I pinned to the top here um, a thread yesterday by Bob Bodley. If you're not familiar with him, he's one of kind of the gigabrain, technically minded devs in the ordinal space, and he was referring to. Or he was responding to Vitalik recently put out kind of this framework for thinking about L2s and how they're all heterogeneous, which means they're all different and they all have these different types of trade-offs. And then he goes on to explain how this relates to Bitcoin and how he was saying layer 2s are a spectrum. And I think going to even Bitcoin here, he talks about all of the different standards and all the different options that are on Bitcoin. And it is
That's crazy. I didn't read that whole thing. There's literally, if you're not watching Jake's video, there's a list of like 50 things. It's crazy.
Dude, it goes through, like, BRC20, ordinals, counterparty, runestone. Then you get things like ICP and all these side things like side chains, drive chains, spider chains. So it's like, almost like a Halloween script, right? You got like, and so kind of applying this framework to, the conversation or the comment of what Alon said about, the JPEGs are not even on chain. There's all these different types of trade-offs of being purely on chain, and being purely on chain is quite expensive. There was actually our friend Patches, if you know who Patches is, he goes into, he's on the ordinal spaces a lot. He goes on and he talks about the trade-offs of ordinals, which a lot of these guys don't ever talk about. Where they say, yeah, the data is on chain, but the ownership layer is not on chain, right? So it's kind of the opposite, where an NFT on Ethereum, at least the standard ERC-721, you have the tokens on chain, but the metadata is not. Whereas on ordinals, it's like the data is on chain, but the ownership layer is off chain. But no one ever really discusses that kind of trade-off. And so if you really think about it, and you apply that to the NFT framework and to art, if you don't know who the owner is, but the data's there, that kind of changes like the idea of what should actually be stored there. That's why I've been a really big proponent for using ordinals specifically as uploading very important documentation, generally for things like whistleblowers, and maybe somebody's like biography, or different things like that have maybe less value relation in terms of like speculative value, but more kind of like, I guess, humanitarian capital or kind of political capital. But it's interesting to get into that kind of debate, because memes are also kind of in this weird area where some people think memes are very valuable and other people just think they're just kind of hilarious, right? The whole joke with Pepe, I was listening to one of the bigger like Bitcoin spaces the other day, and one of the guys I was on there was talking about the reason why he owns rare Pepes is because he just thinks it's a whole joke. He was like, the data doesn't even need to be there. Everyone knows what the image is, and that you're buying these tokens for 5-6 figures. And he's like, that's the whole idea. It's kind of just the joke of it in general. And so everyone kind of has different types of meaning to it, which is exactly kind of what Scrilla brought up.
It's it's hilarious. I mean, at the end of the day, it's fake all the way down. Everything's fake. So it's part of the joke of it and part of the awesomeness and the reality of being human.
There's so much nuance. Sorry, there's so much nuance in this. Like, you can't just like paint everything the same. Like, that's the thing that when mainstream media or people that are kind of on the outside of the system try to talk about this, obviously Elon's a smart person. Like, he gets it to a degree, but he's painting everything with one stroke. And there's many different things, like Jake was saying, like you can use like the DJ Pepe inscription I made. Like, I don't plan on ever selling that. Like, that's just there for the image to be like documented. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's, and I agree. Like, I think, like, I remember I put out a poll in February of earlier this year. Like, is there going to be an inscription from a government, like whistleblower type thing in the first million inscriptions? Because I thought that was like the thing, like WikiLeaks type thing. Like, that would be like a perfect standard to upload documents that are like uncensorable. And yeah, you just can't paint all this stuff with one stroke. There's many different sides to all this. Like, people value different things. The word NFT is kind of thrown around so loosely. You know, it's kind of like music. Like you say, I like music, but like, what kind of music do you like? Like, where do you, what region of music? Like, there's so much nuance in all this stuff.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking with Leo the other day too. He just added something to Ord.io where it shows the file size of the different collections, and Bitcoin Apes has the largest one. And I commented on. I said I kind of like when you add things like this because it adds some additional value layers for collectors to kind of scope out and decide if that's what they want to ascribe their value to outside of just the art. And he was like, honestly, it's just me being a nerd, but.
You know what trips me out is we're talking about how, you know, we're always saying, oh, it's early, and we're kind of even memeing the fact that it's early to ourselves because we feel like we've been here for X amount of time and it's not really early. But a couple of days ago, last week, we were doing a little thing where we were posting our 17 favorite fake rares, and it turned into rare Pepes, and I went to post one of my 17 favorite fake rares, and the file was too big for me to put on X. And so like, we think that the technology we're using is early, but even the stuff that we think is late is too early for some of the file sizes of the stuff we're working with.
Huh, that's a good point, actually. I never really thought about it like that. Yeah. So Carsonated, I do want to ask you this. You were kind of going into the fake memes, kind of back in the day, right? That was back in January and February, I guess, and maybe March. It was so long ago. Can you just give first just a brief description of what it was of that crazy memory? So there's some stuff I want to dive into, kind of just about it, and maybe just remembering it as well.
Definitely, thanks. So we've all been doing stuff with Pepe's, and it's a meme, and other collections and other artworks and other groups of people in other chains started doing things with memes, and it felt like it was a good opening for us to do something fake that kind of brought attention to the concept of fakeness. What the real root of the story was is it was very organic in the context that the first 5 of us, we were just goofing off and we were memeing the people that were memeing memes. So we made some lowercase fake memes, and we realized there was a lot of interest in those, and so we decided to pool that together, and we created Series 0, which was, you know, fake memes before fake memes. And we tried to get everybody involved, try a different experimentation format where people could submit anything they made, and it kind of put the rules of fake rares and rare Pepes on its head, where everybody got to see the art before it got in. Everybody got a democratic vote as opposed to a curated collection by a team. So it was kind of some experimentation on another chain with other methodology to see, you know, what kind of interest and participation to ultimately spread the world of fakes, which always roots back to spreading the word of Pepe. So that's what the whole thing was about.
Yeah, I remember there was so much attention on it during the time. This was right at the beginning of the, I should say, the manifold or the open edition kind of meta that happened at the beginning of the year. And there was five of you that were kind of the co-founding team of this. 3 of you on stage, or Scrilla, Pepenardo, Carsonated, Viva was there, and then JB, who's in the crowd. We're all part of this early days. Now looking at it from a retroactive perspective on November 1st, 2023, where on, it looks like June 18th is when the collection was concluded. What were some like lessons you took away from it, or maybe some surprises that you didn't expect?
For me, I would say I learned a lot about I wouldn't say dilution so much as overload. I think creating these fast-paced shoot off. You're constantly getting material and you're constantly chasing the high. I think it put a lot of pressure on a lot of collectors. So towards the end, things got more rare because things weren't being as collected. And I think it was a great lesson to see that there is a line where you can expect collectors to want to participate, and sometimes sometimes more rare over a longer period of time actually respects the emotion of what's being created and gives people a chance to really digest and participate with the art in a different way. And I feel like I learned a lot personally watching how people collected and how people interacted and even how other artists submitted and participated.
Yeah, I had a fun time participating in that. It was actually my first meme experience from a personal level. I have it pulled up here on Open so you can see it was a very fun collection, and also that it, some of it has to do with Pepe, some of it doesn't. Some of it has to do more with just being a memer, I guess, or also playing off of Punk 6529's kind of cards, which was kind of a neat experience. GM Pepenardo, man, how are you doing today? How was Halloween for you? If you're there.
Hey guys, yeah, doing good. I'm late to spaces here a little bit because I was out running errands and juggling the new dad life. But yeah, everything's going awesome, and it's good to be here and hear Carson's perspective of fake memes, because I think that pretty much captures the meta of that perfectly. It's kind of like an interesting thing how it pretty much captures like the essence, the timeline of like crypto art, the open edition thing. And I think it's going to be like, over time it'll become more, appreciated and maybe relevant to the context of this entire timeline.
Yeah, it was a fun time. I think this was really the first adventure, or at least that I had seen, of Pepe really trying to make or the meme community kind of make this move over to Ethereum, or try to, kind of instill some of the principles from Counterparty over to Ethereum. Although there were some older collections. What is it, like Peperium? I think there was a few, Pepe Dap. I think there was a few attempts, but this, I think, largely had the best kind of social return. And then you had Vince Van Dough, then later ended up doing Notable Pepes, which I think they kind of conflicted, and most people found a lot more interest over there. Carson, have you ever thought about restarting this? Is there any intention to do it, or are we just gonna memorialize season 0 and season 1? I know it's a lot of effort to do, and it's a really big pain in the ass as well. So
it feels like it did its time, but it also, from the outset, the reason we set the contract and did it all in one season, one series, was because it can either stand alone, or potentially in the future we could do another one if we so decided, if the community wanted it, if there was that desire. But when you leave things open-ended, there's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of presumption that, hey, in 2 weeks this is going to continue. And when you kind of put a cap and a frame on things, it gives you the ability to assess whether or not this is the book, or this is just a chapter in the story.
That's a great way to frame it. Scrilla, tell us a little bit about your experience, right? As somebody who'd been since the beginning of Rare Pepe, or pretty much at the beginning. You have iconic DJ Pepe card. You started Fake Rares, or you're part of that team. When fake memes popped up again, did you think, holy shit, here we go again for a third time?
It's like, I think Carson mentioned a little bit, it's like the open edition meta at the beginning of the year was like out of control. And as we see, like open editions can work, but too much is just saturation, and the market gets confused, I think. So I think everybody kind of like, it was almost like, you know, it was almost became like open editions, like the whole meta was like shit coins. It's like, and that you know, that kind of felt bad for real. Like that time when I look back at it is like, but at the same time, it is kind of like like I think Pepenardo says, kind of capturing like that zeitgeist of like what was going on in that time period, and fake memes kind of did that. I know, like I put out the first one, Series 0, just as a joke, because I saw, you know, like at the time, all these like traders were like saying the meme card 6529, which collection, you know, the collection is great, but they were saying like that Nakamoto card was gonna surpass the rare Pepe Nakamoto, and like it was kind of like grinding at us. Like we were all just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, who are these motherfuckers? And that was where you know, then I saw I saw the homie flip all his memes, and he bought the card 0 of fake rares on Emblem, and it was just a great meme, I thought, because like you could just see like the transaction history. He's like sold, and bought. It doesn't matter, in my opinion. You know, I take shit jokingly. You know, I'm kind of being ironic with it, but that I saw that and I was like, oh, I gotta meme this like right now, and I put that out as like an open edition, just fucking around, and you know, did all right. And then you know, the rest of the homies, like all the, you know, fake rare scientists or whatever you want to call us, like started like putting them out right away. Like Carson put out the Vitalik one, which is great, man, because it's like freedom to transact, and Ethereum has like, you know, is not as free as Bitcoin, and you know, at least from a Bitcoin mindset, it's definitely not. It's like the freedom is not really there. Like you can't make fucking meme cards if you're in Iran or some shit like that. Like it's not really. So, and then Joe Looney did the one about the fucking moonbirds not getting fucking different squiggles, like freedom to. Oh man, it was funny as shit. Like it was like the early things were just hilarious, and yeah, I don't know. You know, Viva was putting his fucking graffiti guy and everything at the time. So yeah, it was a good time for sure. Like we were having fun with it, and Manifold had opened these tools up that made it super easy. I mean, the Manifold meta at the beginning of the year was, you know, that was some great new technology for artists to like have their own contracts. It was super easy to use, and it kind of all played into like, I think the crypto art like movement at that time. So yeah, it was kind of like a flurry of things that happened, and we like Carson was saying, it's almost like chasing the high. Like you got to be like on your toes every day and like creating these memes to like capture what was going on, and it just became like crazy. I was still like, just for instance, like Chrome Void's like X copy piece that he did based off of the memes card was like, I think that card was great. A bunch of shit was great, but yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, this was right around the beginning of the ordinals movement as well. I pulled up here on the screen. The freedom to transact is number 481 of inscriptions. I find it kind of interesting how a lot of these memes, or like the meme kind of economy, tends to kind of permeate into other sectors, especially on Bitcoin, where you have that big crossover between rare Pepes on Counterparty, now ordinals, and then stamps even have that blend as well. Carson, do you feel proud, or do you think of anything when you see the freedom to transact that early in kind of the ordinal history being implemented there?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. Everything was such a blur that I didn't even realize that. What number was it?
It's
Did
not,
you say 481?
481. Yeah, I have it pulled up here on the screen.
That's kind of powerful. I'm kind of impressed with that, and whoever inscribed it, I want to give a digital high five to, because you know, I think some people would probably be, you know, conflicted with the fact that somebody just ganked their art and jammed it on another chain. And for me, I think that's the ultimate goal of what we're doing is for memes to infect from brain to brain, from chain to chain, from person to person, and just propagate across the world and across, I guess, when you look at blockchain, across the potential for the future. These historical moments are now available for everybody to pay attention to, scratch their head, and kind of wonder what the hell were these people thinking in 2023.
Yeah, it is absolutely interesting. And then
Jake, on that note, and what Carson was saying, like somebody put up the rare Pepe logo that I made. I never minted ever, in like one of those early inscriptions, and they sold it for like a Bitcoin. And people were like, "What the fuck, screw you, man? What are you gonna do?" And I was like, "I don't give a fuck." Like that's like story, man. It's just fucking hilarious. Like you can't do anything about it. Like, yeah, like people are gonna do that shit, and it's actually great. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like people taking your art and like putting it early on like these new technologies is like it should be like thought of like as a high five more than anything. It's like, yeah.
what's good, Viva? How you doing, bro?
Hey, what's happening, guys? Sorry, I was a little bit late. I got my times wrong.
That's no
It
problem.
got me out.
No problem as well, dude. So Viva also was part of that original team. It's interesting kind of thinking back and looking at, fake memes, because everyone kind of between the 5 creators of you all kind of found different niches, and you kind of really dove into Bitcoin stamps, right? And taking kind of that history previously. First, since you just joined, tell us a little bit about your experience with fake memes at the beginning of the year.
I think, like Carson was saying, everything was a bit of a blur at the beginning of the year. I think I'd started using Manifold to do things sort of around January time. I think I was sort of putting things out pretty regular, and it kind of worked for me because I could put out a lot of work quickly, just drawing things that pop into my head. So I was using Manifold, and then the memes came about, and then I started speaking to the guys contacted me through Telegram about fake memes. And like Scrilla was saying, I just thought it was really fun. It was a fun thing to sort of not poke fun at, but in a sort of counterparty sort of way, have a laugh with it and have a joke with it. Oh, look, these guys are doing memes on ETH type thing. And then sort of run with it from there. But it was fun, and I thought it perfectly captured what was going on at that time.
Yeah, the open edition meta, and then you moved over to Bitcoin stamps, and you kind of been hanging out there for quite a while. I love
stamps.
Give us the experience of why Bitcoin stamps and the experience of creating memes on Counterparty versus Ethereum versus Bitcoin stamps.
Well, I did start doing ordinals before that, but I don't know. I didn't quite know I didn't have any clear idea of what I was putting out on ordinals. It felt like I was doing it just for the sake of doing it because everyone else was like, we should be doing this. So I started going back to just creating things and then doing pixelated artwork to try and get the sizes down. And that's when Arwin messaged me about Bitcoin stamps. So stamps sort of felt more natural to me because it was tied in with Counterparty. So, that sort of the way of working, it seemed natural. It seemed like, we were still operating in the same sort of way. So I think that's why I ended up doing more of them. And then I kind of fell in love with simplifying all of your artwork and getting the challenge of getting it down to such a small size and working like that became a bit addictive. So I just started creating loads of pixel artwork, which I'm still doing now. So, it's definitely been good. But Ethereum, that was with fake memes, that was sort of my first sort of delve into the Ethereum world. I did Alcatraz Swim Team. That was November of the year before. And that was my first sort of exposure to Ethereum. And it's definitely a different vibe. I was getting messages from people after the fake memes thing. angry at me that the prices had dropped. You know, saying to me, "What am I going to do? Like, what's my roadmap? What am I going to be doing to get their price up and this and that?" I was like, "Fucking nothing. What were you expect?" Like, so,
Are you
Jesus.
new here, man? Are you new to this space? What's
Yeah.
going on, bro?
I was like, I drew it. That's kind of where it ends. So, I mean, that was news to me. I didn't, because, you know, normally we just collect things on a counterparty and, you know, draw things and not sell them at all. So I don't expect that sort of thing back. But there was a lot of flippers, I think, that got involved. And I'd never been exposed to that. And I'd certainly never had them collecting my work, trying to flip it. So that was a new experience for me, an eye-opener.
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of the main differences exploring Bitcoin versus Ethereum, because it has such a faster throughput. There's a lot. It's a lot easier to trade versus Bitcoin, right? You have that block time, so it is a little more circular around collectors than traders.
And it seems to, you know, you have a very short window of catching people's attention on Ethereum, and then they're gone and they're on to something else. It's sort of, you know, they're not hanging around for very long. So yeah, it was a definitely different vibe.
Tell me why pixel art? Why do you think pixel art is so popular? Even now, CryptoPunks, right, is this iconic collection that's now 6 years old. It seems like pixel art's only accelerating than decreasing. What makes it so valuable or interesting for artists to create?
I think for people of my generation, it's sort of, you know, it brings you back flashbacks to growing up as a kid. And I think a lot of that's embedded in us from the games that I played and everything like that. And so I think part of me loves pixel art because of that. Things like that. So that artwork, you know, to me holds a sort of special place. So when I started doing pixel artwork, and I think with other people as well, when they see it, I think there's quite a few people in this sort of space. I hate calling it space, but you know what I mean. Who are a similar age to me, and I think, you know, we probably did similar things as kids. That the pixel art and the nostalgia is sort of there with us, and it's, you know, simplicity. I think sometimes a lot of my drawings tend to be, it's not overcomplicated, but you know, quite a lot goes into them. So I think the contrast of having things that are broken down really simply as well is nice.
Yeah, I think so as well. And then, you know, back early in January, I was familiar with Scrilla from Rare Pepe, but the other four of you, it was the first time I'd really come across your artwork. And Pepenardo is somebody whose, you know, artwork I think is kind of exploded since then, because you have this really defined kind of traditional style. Could you explain it for us, kind of your introduction into Pepe, and then the style of your artwork? Because I don't think I've actually ever heard you explain it before.
Yeah, thank you for that. But yeah, so I guess the introduction, you know, all came around when I was in nursing school. It was like my 2-year break from the traditional art world, which I had been involved in for 12 years prior. Got a little burnt out, wanted to start the family life, went to nursing school to get, you know, the real job, and hadn't made any art for 2 years, was dying inside. My soul was being crushed. And at the same time, I was like watching Twitter just from the sidelines, seeing like the Rare Pepe explosion with obviously Emblem Vault. Not really interested in making money. I was just like really hyped on Pepe as a meme, just because I'd known about it, and you know, that was like a fun thing that me and my friends used to sort of like just draw when we were bored. So I made the fake Pepe Lisa as like the first sort of oil painting. Well, again, not knowing anything about fake rares or, you know, wanting to mint this or wanting to sell it. I was just like, I just wanted to make something that was super simple, something that I could like restore my soul when I was in nursing school and just like make something funny. So I was just like, oh, I'll just take the two most famous images, Pepe and Mona Lisa, and smash them together. You know, midway through the painting, I threw together the Pepenardo Twitter, started posting work in progress shots, and somebody linked me to the Fake Rare Telegram, and that sort of started the entire, you know, journey into crypto art and sort of like the revitalization of my career and honestly just like my soul. Just because that's all I really want to do is make art. So, you know, the traditional painting style pretty much comes from, you know, my background. I apprenticed for a dozen artists growing up, you know, basically making their paintings and learning the technique through that process, you know, very like Renaissance-esque, you know, school of Leonardo da Vinci style, like seeking out the best artists and asking them to work for them for free, you know, making their art and then watching them sell it for 6 figures. It's a pretty bizarre experience, you know, being an 18-year-old into your early 20s. So that's kind of where my traditional art background comes from.
And then there was it kind of led up all to a point, I believe was it this year or last year? One of your physical paintings sold for over 6 figures. Can you take us through that story and kind of the meaning and kind of the impact it had on your life?
Yeah, that was the most surreal thing that, you know, certainly has ever happened to me. Just because I did, you know, I basically lived that stereotypical starving artist lifestyle in Chicago for so long, and pursued it just because it was like the pure passion and pure love for art making. So to go from that origin to watching one of my paintings sell for 4.02 whatever Bitcoin it's a pretty surreal timeline. But that specific painting was a dedication, like an homage to all the rare Pepe scientists and the fake rare scientists. And, you know, the person that won it was Sean Leary, which is the infamous, one of the original rare Pepe scientists. So, you know, he definitely really wanted it just because it had the names of everybody written in the books that I had painted. And it was an incredible experience because I was in a room in that pub key bar in New York with everybody that I love, my wife and, you know, all my friends from Counterparty, which I honestly consider more friends now than like real life friends almost, which is a pretty special experience. But it was just hilarious sort of watching this bid war go on, and everyone's got a little, you know, they're a little tipsy and people are freaking out, going wild. It was definitely magical.
Adam, are you a Pepe connoisseur or a collector? Do you dabble in? Have you dabbled into any of these collections? Fake memes, fake rares, rare Pepes, notable Pepe.
Sure, a little
artwork?
bit, but to say I'm overwhelmed, I think generally people I think get overwhelmed. So I always just keep it really simple. Like I can't afford the first one, so let me get the second and third one. You know, that's my monkey strategy. I don't have a good strategy. I think the best and smartest people go after artists that they like. I think that's generally the strategy. You know, I just think that's the one that you have the hardest time losing with, because at the end of the day, at least you like the art and you're supporting the artist. Tends to be the strategy that is the most of us can win with. trying to guess on which one's going to be the most valuable, that's probably a losing game.
I tend to view, I kind of have this perspective that people who are selling tokenized memes, it's kind of like the blue collar workers of the NFT land, because you're selling, maybe a set of 100 that pays your bills for a month or two, and then you kind of get back to the drawing board, and everyone's kind of on the similar schedule because you're releasing a lot of these in series, right? So they're all kind of around the same time. It's like this kind of working period. And that isn't to be offensive or anything. It's an interesting dynamic. I was talking about this with, maybe been with you, Adam. It was with somebody yesterday about how the Pepe community is a little bit different than, the ETH NFT community, where there's a little bit more of a placement on individualism and collecting, kind of versus this like WAGMI community, where everyone's trying to, kind of pump everything together. The Pepe community and collector community, yes, there's a preference for price, right? Everyone wants the price to go up, but that's not generally the priority. It's more kind of supporting everybody and kind of introducing new types of ideas into the arena, I guess, quote unquote, or the Pepe kind of land.
Yep. Yeah, I think you've hit it on the head. I think that's, what resonates probably with you and I most as well. Oh, did somebody just cut in?
No, you're good.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think it's a more foundational, like this is the foundational community, right? And you just catch it. Anytime you're in a different group of people, I don't know, we were with the Escription guys yesterday, right? And it's a different vibe, right? These guys have been here for 5 minutes and they're ready, they just want to dump on the next guy in, right? And it's just a different vibe. Not to say there's anything necessarily wrong with what Escription's got going on, and the base foundation idea of what Escription's, has going on is really good and valuable. Like, and I completely support that community. But you also realize that a lot of the people in there are, what we would call shitcoiners or whatever. They're just looking for what's the next thing that we can pump and dump. And that is the antithesis of what, the Pepe community is at its foundation.
And what's going on, Damien? Good to see you.
How you guys doing?
All right,
You're
man. What's up?
over there?
Pepe. There are many like it, but this one is mine. My Rare Pepe is my best friend. It is my life. I must master it as I must master my life. Without me, my Rare Pepe is useless. Without my Rare Pepe, I am useless. I must use my Rare Pepe wisely. I must use it more skillfully than those who would seek to harm or devalue my investment in reality. I must use it to protect myself and my comrades. I will. My Rare Pepe and I know what counts in the world of finance. It's not the transactions we make, the volume of our trades, or the attention we attract. We know it is the alpha we manifest that counts. Manifest alpha with our will. My Rare Pepe is energy, as I am energy. Because it is an amalgamation of energy, ingenuity, and creativity, I will learn it as a brother. I will learn its strengths, weaknesses, artistic styles, symbols, and sigils. I will keep my Rare Pepe secure and dank because I am secure and dank. We will become part of each other. We will. Before Satoshi, I swear this creed, my Rare Pepe and I are the defenders of my wealth. We are the masters of our finances, and we are the saviors of my life. So be it until victory is achieved and there is no more poverty but prosperity. May the truth set us all free of poverty and ignorance.
Amen.
Very, very well put. Damien, man, I know you host, is it daily Pepe Spaces or almost bi-daily? Tell us a little bit about the show that you host and the experience that you've been doing it. I know you generally host them at night, my time, but I see you in those spaces almost every day.
Yeah. So my space is a mental.
You might want not want to have music going on in the background, bro, when you're on Spaces, just to give you a little Spaces tip.
There you go.
Well, there's a message there too. I do things differently.
We're
I
very
hear the
used
way
to
you guys-
listening to Damien like this with music in the background. It's very
Okay.
used to
Oh
it.
wow. Okay. Nice.
I hear a lot of what you guys are saying. I hear the business side of it. It sounds super serious, but I'm here for Pepe. I've always been here for Pepe, and that's what I bring to the table. I've never sold a Pepe. I've only destroyed them or given them away. I create them. I destroy them. Right. I use my yogic background with mantra and manifesting reality through repetitive, visionary states, right? That's what you're doing, really. When you look at a card, or what is the message? What is the truth behind the card? That's why rare Pepes are very, very powerful. And it's a powerful technology, and why you would want to store them on Bitcoin like an ordinal. I think Scrilla was one of the first to really embrace that. There were some before him, I'm sure. I think some people were doing the actual inscribing and passing them to, a couple people who did the actual technical stuff. I came in a little later. I did it myself. I had some problems. It was like around my birthday. Actually, Skrilla's birthday and my birthday are the same day. And that was the day that the rare Pepe showed up on the blockchain. I was not the one to do that, but I would have been had I not had some issues. But so I came around 5,000, and my idea has been from the beginning as a Nakamoto holder and an avid holder. I've never sold them. I have donated them. I donated 5 of them to a trust at one point, and had them appraised, etc. Like did the whole thing mimetically sound while holding, Pepe Ross asset as Star-Lord Keck, acting on behalf of Star-Lord Keck, defeating Lord Keck and this bullshit 666 mentality that's been like permeating all of our mimetic culture now. And like, the shitcoiners embrace it, the degenerated, or it's just like a degradation of like reality, like through all of this art and greed. Like it's greed mixed with art, and they're pumping imagery, which as is very powerful metaphysically, and it does shape reality. If you're in here and you spend a lot of money on these things, you understand that, and that's why you invest in it. But you want to shape it the right way. And like the truth is that there's a lot of people playing head games with people all over the place. Is that what you want in your reality? Because that's what's manifesting. I think we've all seen it.
Hey, Damien, I want to know if you agree with this. Like, taking what you said, and actually like maintaining the degree of seriousness around it, what you ended on. I was talking about this to my brother, who's out in New Mexico. He's my little brother. He's a steward of many psychedelics for the community and many other things as well. And there was some cactus field discussion at some point, and I remember actually he was really trying to understand where I was coming from and why I was making and collecting things in the way that I was. And I said, you and I maybe don't give a shit about sports, the NFL, MLB and stuff, but we did at a time. And I really see this as like sport is needed so we can have war without like deadly consequences. We could see what it's like at like a hyper scale and like choose to change the rules of it, see the value of competition, the value of like supporting. And I think this is like the sport of culture that a lot of people like on this space, for example, are participating in, sort of creating the leagues for. Like where, and each league might have its own rules. There might be a World Series.
Agree.
Yeah, there might be a World Series where the National League and the American League play each other at the end, but it's the sport of culture, and it's like a non-lethal way of doing it at hyper pace and scale.
I see that art shapes culture 100%. I'm not like trained in art whatsoever. I'm trained in pattern recognition, and art shapes culture. That's why I'm in art. Trying to change culture. I'm trying to change money. That's why I got into Bitcoin. That's why I denounced money, went to zero before I even like was going to touch another money. I had to know that there was some chance to take down the Federal Reserve or fight against it or build another system. At the time, I was really into Buckminster Fuller's work, right? It's like build another system. Don't think that, just build something else and work on it, right? If somebody comes and attacks you, then it's don't tread on me mentality and use whatever you got. But there's no reason that we can't just build a better world with memes too. But I don't think you want to pass on this greedy, Coke-based Wall Street culture that obviously infiltrated the memetic culture. And yeah, money is a drug, and we are building a drug. It's like it's all built and it's consciousness based. You get addicted to collecting these things, and then you collect a certain type, and that art influences your life ultimately. So that's my message. That's why I do whatever I'm doing. And then eventually it comes back. I believe in that whole karmic thing and fractal. You'll see fractal. I just see it from many dimensions and many angles, and try to align my actions with the things that overlap and with the truth in all these multiple dimensions. I look at things through.
Bro, did we just drop down the cactus rabbit hole right now? Are we in the? We're in the.
I'm there. I'm in the land.
We're here, man. We're here.
This is the guy that destroys Nakamoto's. I mean, this is why and how it can happen. Like nobody else is doing it.
I love it.
And it's an interesting take, because when you think about culture, it generally exists in the absence of wealth, where once commercialization comes into some sort of culture, it'll tend to identify the unique aspects of it and then kind of chop it up and productize it and then try to sell it, right, as being a member or community. You could do this through memberships, right? You could do this through kind of glorification of different types of products.
Yeah.
And it's been it's kind of fascinating that even as Rare Pepe, the collection now exists as maybe the third or fourth largest collection by market cap. I think it's around 250 mil. It still has this kind of very integral part of the culture that still exists here that hasn't been wiped away yet. But maybe that's also because of a byproduct that Pepe is just so large. It exists and permeates into pretty much everything.
And maybe that, the Nakamoto card wasn't on Jimmy Kimmel Live or whatever, and they weren't bragging about the Nakamoto card. And if that does happen in the next cycle, maybe we're going to have to burn Pepe to the ground, and start over again.
Absolutely. Thank God it was never on Jimmy Kimmel. That's not anything Pepe is aimed for. Pepe is anti-ego. That's what you guys definitely, I think most of the Pepe people understand. And that shit is all about ego. Throwing it up there like that and paying celebrities to pump it, shit like that.
Isn't that kind of sort of what, I mean, at least when I saw the movie, the documentary, the reaction to the broad commercialization of it from the 4chan community was, maybe too much spray and pray, let's for my personal taste, but there are those backlashes too. And maybe the fact that we have a documentary showing us all about we're still dealing with the results of that backlash. I would say so now, especially if you want to bring in money into the equation, that's a lead weight for sure. And but we can do better because we get hypercycles because this is digital. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good point. And seriously, as Rare Pepe scientists or fake rare scientists in our chat, many times when we're doing something or talking about doing a gallery here, or if somebody suggests something, we always bring it back to is this too much, or what are hardcore Pepe people going to think? That has to happen. There was somebody that, for instance, and not any of the scientists, but somebody from who's definitely a Pepe collector, but they proposed putting together a gallery with like, you know, some super like crazy like like contemporary modern art style thing where like people were involved in doing things, and we were just like, I don't want to get too deep into it, I don't want to out them, but we were like, nah. Like, can you imagine what 4chan would say if that happened? And like, we're, you know, not to say like 4chan is the ultimate decider, to be honest with you. I don't, you know, it doesn't even hold the same weight as it did, I think. But it's like, we want to respect like the Pepe like roots for sure. Like, it's like the people, like, you know, people are saying like, oh man, you guys gotta get people in. Like, people keeps creating all these Pepe and stuff. Like, cool. Like, people just have to go down the same path that everybody else has to go down. We're not putting anybody on a pedestal. Super fine with people doing a fake rare, but no, we're not gonna hold out a silver plate and like change the rules for people to be in. Like, that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, I really do respect that. It's very awesome to really keep the integrity of not just the community, but the collections, that he's got to follow the rules. I mean, we saw that he put it out there, which was kind of, you know, it's exciting. People, I think everyone's pretty aware what happens if that does make it into the collection, but still needs to follow the rules. People's a weird guy. He even got mentioned on Joe Rogan in the first scene yesterday. But
I respect people. I think people's cool as shit. Like, to be honest with you, like, I know some people in this place don't like him, and some people love him. Like, I think people's great, but at the end of the day, he has to. Yeah, anybody, like Snoop Dogg wants to do it. Like, we've reached out to people that know Snoop Dogg, and like, but it's the same thing. It's like, you have to come in, do it, and like, we want you to be a collector too. We don't want you to come in and make a card and it just bounce like that. That's like a pump and dump test. Like, you gotta like embrace the community almost. Like, get in here and like experience what Pepe is. Like, that's really more what we're looking for when we're putting people into fake rares.
Yeah.
Participate in the circular pep economy.
Circular sounds fake to a degree. Well, guys, I appreciate everyone for coming here. That we've now done this space. I think, is this, Adam, was this our third or fourth Pepe show on the Wednesdays? We're going to continue to try to get as many different people on here. So if there's anyone who wants to, you know, be featured, or you think somebody that's maybe, you know, overlooked that we should reach out to, please let us know. It's quite a large space. We've made a list of everybody from the space.
It's a big list, bro. It's a big list.
It's a big list from just artists to, you know, infrastructure providers to big collectors. We want to try to capture as much of the community as possible so that everyone really has a voice, because that's what Emblem is going to do to participate in the, you know, Pepe circular economy. We have a media channel and we also have the infrastructure, but we want to make sure that everyone's heard. So appreciate you guys for coming on. You know, some of you, the regulars, Pepenardo, is great to talk for the first time. Carsonated, it's always great. Same with Viva and Scrilla and some of the other guys that are on stage. Adam, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the episode so far? Pepe's, we're a month into this now.
I love it. I think it's, you know, I was talking to somebody today on another space just before this. He's like, what are you guys doing on your spaces today? And I'm like, it's our Pepe space. Like, look, it's the #1 meme on X, and it's only going to grow. I mean, we're talking with, you know, the artists and stuff, and I feel really fortunate to be able to talk with people who, you know, were there at the birth of Pepe's and have helped grow this space. And like, you know, I said earlier, this is the foundational meme space. And so I love that we're hosting kind of like a weekly space for Pepe's, because, you know, this is like the foundation. And, you know, other people will come in, this will grow. And as the next bull run comes in, I'm excited to have this space, because this space is going to be massive.
Ooh, same here. Chris, takeaways? You gonna start buying some fake rares right after this?
Yo, yeah, man. I mean, Pepe's really are kind of like the apex meme. You know, it's just like has so much to do with crypto, from the very beginning to the underground counterparty days to when it was vaulted in the Emblem legacy vaults, and then now with its own curated collection. It kind of like, you know, showcases the timeline of where we are and how much progress we've made just as crypto in general. So it's cool to see it grow. It's cool to see how far it's come. And then I think Adam's totally right. as this market picks up and people are able to discover these in a new way. I mean, really, the sky's the limit for how far this meme's going to go. And it's cool because it's just so traceable back to, you know, the earliest days of everything that we believe in here. So super pumped on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I want to see in the future. Probably won't be me, but it would be cool if somebody uses the curated collections to build a trading card game with all of the different rare Pepe stuff, since it'll all be on ETH, right? You could do it with rare Pepe, fake commons, fake rares, dank rares, all the other meme ones that we add, right? The Cocos and all of the ones that are on Pepe.wtf when we add a collection for. You could create probably some sort of wild metaverse for this. But until then, for those that don't know, we host this show Tuesday through Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. We talk from everything from Pepe to Spells of Genesis to upcoming topics. I think we're going to kind of shit on tomorrow's show. I think we're just going to shit on the SBF case trial and kind of talk through that. I've been following to it. It's coming to a close. Man, scammers are just getting dumped on by the U.S. government. He's been getting lambasted. But at the end of the day, for the jury, it just depends. All you got to do is convince one person. So make sure you follow everyone on stage. Pepe's are flying. Make sure you share the news that fake rares hit the OpenSea top 100 for the first time today. So until then, guys, we'll see you tomorrow.